The sports car field at Phillip Island was spectacular, but the class lost one of its main attractions on Saturday when the Dodge Viper of Ross Lilly blew its V10 engine at the bottom of the main straight. Porsche driver Brian Power hit the oil spill and his weekend ended as well, thanks to some front end damage. Sunday's feature race was a battle between the Lamborghini Brigade, led by Ted Huglin's Gallardo GT3, and the new Super Trofeo model of newcomer Justin McMillan. Murray Carter's Corvette was looking strong early, but a penalty for a jump start after a clutch failure put the 80-year-old veteran out of the race. Jim Manolius in his new Corvette improved throughout the weekend, and he eventually came out on top in the battle for third with Mark Siemens in another Lamborghini. Huglin took the win, but McMillan, in only his first ever race, was spectacular, and he looms as a real challenge to the title this year. The Formula Ford feature race lasted only 2 corners before Josh Hunter decided to rack up some frequent flyer miles with this spectacular launch over the wheels of Jake Foraker. Hunter was out of the race, but remarkably Foraker continued with a cracked rear wheel and bent suspension to still finish 5th. Matthew Brabham continued his good form from last year, winning both the race and the weekend outright. Brendan Jones took out the Kent-engined class. It was a great fight up front as Michael Robinson and Chaz Talbot duked it out in the sports sedans. Talbot in the Commodore won Saturday's first race, but from then on it was Robinson's Monaro on top. Third place went to Neil Bryson's brand new Trans-Am Mustang. The spectacular looking car was imported from the USA, with Bryson keen to take advantage of a strong Aussie dollar and the chance to race some faster and safer machinery.
It's a wonderful thing, isn't it? That it's a Tony Abbey car out of the States. They relaunched the Trans-Am series over there probably half a dozen years ago, and he's one of the main manufacturers. And with the Australian dollar the way it is, I thought it was a good thing to do because it fits nicely into the sedan series compared to what I've had in the past. It's a little bit quicker, but more importantly, it's a little bit safer and hopefully a bit more reliable. But yes, it looks the part, and I've got a lot of comments already, and just got to learn how to steer the thing.
So what's the difference between driving this and your previous Calibra? I mean, your Calibra is a ground-up built sports sedan, mid-engined, and now this particular car, I mean, this looks almost agricultural, but it's very sophisticated underneath, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's a very different car. Some of the obvious differences are we've gone back to a 5-speed H pattern, but with the dog leg first, and that's taken a bit of getting used to. It's a bigger and heavier car with a lot more structural integrity into it, and for that reason we're probably a little bit taily out there in qualifying, but a lot of adjustment, a lot of setup work ahead of us.
So what can you do to the car under the current regulations running a Trans-Am car with the sports sedans? What modifications can you make to it?
Well, it's quite interesting because particularly at the national level, you can either run it as a Trans-Am car in its purity, which is what we're doing, or you can bring it back to a sedan category and make modification. So the options are there for the owners.
So apart from the Victorian State Series, what are your plans for the car?
We'll probably do most of the Victorian State, and we'll do 3 or 4 national rounds this year, but I don't want to jump in too quickly when we're learning the thing. So this year will all be about shakedown and getting used to it, and try and launch more seriously into the nationals next year.
The fight for the under 2 litre sports sedan honours was a ripper as Brett Dickey in his new Honda Prelude battled it out all weekend with the Datsun of Barry McGraw. Dickey came out the winner, but there was nothing between the two of them all weekend. And it was an old-fashioned Phillip Island Formula V special as Jack Flood and Mitch Martin led home early race leader and defending champion Daniel Reinhardt in an absolute thriller. The margin of victory, less than 1/1000th of a second.